You cannot be more than what you know unless you seek to know more.
If tomorrow you do not exist, do you exist today?
You're not aware that you do not know.
Even people who have guns would not be having them. But it is that world we live. If the powerful we look to are also not secure. Is anybody secure?
The bliss of ignorance.
We found that when people die and they are out of the body and we pronounced them dead, there is something which remains. You have a conscious presence today, but you do not exist. That is why even tomorrow you will not exist, because you have never been.
Well, welcome back again, viewers. We're here again as a continuation of our part 2 on life is not what we see, but how we see it. And we had a brilliant discussion with our very own Dr. Birabwa, Asha Chirunda Chiveijija. Now, Asha is an intellectual who is an advocate for humanity and ways how to be more human. And most things have a formula, and Dr. Asha helps us understand in one way or the other how it can be delved into. So, judging from our last conversation, which I really enjoyed, there were some customer questions. Viewer questions. Today we're here to delve into a few of the questions that were raised. A viewer is asking, can you please throw more light on bodies in motion?
Okay.
You explained how it's like balls on a snooker table and all, but can you please throw more light on that, please?
Okay. What we are is we are bodies. We are made of bodies as human beings. And there was this theory in physics which was invented by Sir Isaac Newton. The guy I talked about who was called madman genius in history. When you look at our video on reality versus truth, you can go back on that video and then you can check and see what we talked about Isaac Newton.
Yes.
So that we don't have to go back and repeat that. But in this particular aspect, what we are looking at is bodies in motion. He invented it as a universal law. In his book, he wrote Principia. He was looking at it as universal laws that govern the movement of different kinds of bodies within the universe. Although he talked about it in objective terms, in as far as he was talking about the whole universe and how it is, for us, we are looking at it in a concept that even us, the whole universe is energy. And what makes a human being is consciousness. And consciousness is simply light. As our first, there is a video, this is a part 2 of that video, which means life is not what we see, but the way we see.
The way we see it, yes.
In that video, we talked about, someone can go back and check that video. We talked about a human being being light. And when there is an object of light, we are, as bodies, solidified light. And if you're to break deep within and have something that breaks a body up, all there is inside is just space. So this is what we are. What is inside that space of a human being, which is all energy, solidified light, is what is termed as consciousness. This is what Dr. Piam, if someone goes back to our truth versus reality, I talked about Dr. Piam, or even in the last one where I talked about madness versus intellectualism. This is where you get to see that consciousness is all that remains of you when you die. In NYU, the director of resuscitation, Dr. Piam, he said, look, we did experiments, scientific ones. This is not any kind of science that could say, ooh, like some freaky stuff in science. No. We found that when people die and they are out of the body and we pronounced them dead, there is something which remains. When they come back, they are able to say, even after the body, there was no active action, they are able to say, I saw what you were doing. I saw what you were doing. And most people usually just say, out of body experience. But out of the body experience, who lives inside that body? So that is consciousness that we are talking about, which science has proved is what remains within a person. That is energy. Energy in physics is move in and out of motion. Cannot be killed, cannot be destroyed. You get what I'm trying?
Yes.
And this is how we also define God. And is everywhere. God is everywhere, moves in and out of form, cannot be killed, cannot be destroyed. So it is that actually remains within a person. So going back on a bodies with motion is, in these bodies, we are actually moving, not just by legs. But what fuels our lives and our bodies is the feelings and emotions that we have. If you go back to our video on truth versus reality, we talked about these feelings. They can be fear, insecurity, or they can be when you're looking at empathizing with another, empathy with another person, kindness, happiness. All those are also emotions. But it's just that in the world we live in today, we've gotten to a point where we don't think that anger is an emotion. We don't think that insecurity is an emotion. But we think that kindness is such a weakness and empathy. And it's the only emotion we describe where we say, control your emotions. Frustration, control your emotions. Emotions, even when you're acting out of fear, which makes the entire world, you're acting out of emotions. So these emotions are moving us from one place to another.
To another, yes.
What attracts me in bodies in motion, I was explaining something about relationships as an example. What may attract me to Ibra is my emotion. Either it is fear or insecurity. Ibra can have what I want. And I go to Ibra and I say, I need to feel more secure. This is what my subconscious is telling me. So I go and I say, Ibra, please help me. I have such and such a problem. But it is my emotion which has pushed me to get in contact with Ibra. Ibra has something I like. Our entire relationships, even if they are male, female, or whatever that we are relating to, we are relating with those kinds of feelings, but more or less from the feeling of seeking for truth. In fact, the greatest illusion in this world that we have is that people think they are seeking happiness, but they are not. They are seeking themselves and they are seeking truth. So what you're really seeking and your happiness is in the context of fear. And happiness means that you arrive at a certain point in time where you are secure. That is happiness. And nothing threatens you. So that is what people call happiness. Nothing threatens you, nothing is challenging you, nothing is causing you to get out of yourself. So that is out of fear. It is fear that defines what happiness is. But happiness doesn't exist. In reality, you are seeking your own truth, the truth of who you are, the truth of what you're here to do in life, the truth of what is my life all about. Who am I? And when I am not this body, this is what subconsciously you're seeking, to know yourself. So in this particular way of bodies in motion, like I was describing relationships, you meet people who don't know who they are. So you're getting attracted to them out of the illusion of the body, which is not you. Why am I saying it is not you? If you passed away today, you dissolve nicely, and we even fail to see that you even ever had some meat, which one day you could have admired and said, she's beautiful.
Oh, yes.
This has gone away. Even a dead body, when the consciousness is departed, many people can't even stay next to it for one day. It is too cold, it doesn't have temperature. So what exactly are you attracted to? You don't know the person inside. They don't know they exist. And every day they are trying to numb that true part of themselves to conform to what we called environmental prejudices earlier. You get it? So does that person exist? Maybe they exist, but they haven't really lived and they don't know who they are.
At a certain level.
At a certain, for the most part. So when we are talking about bodies in motion, you're meeting me and we are knocking each other in whatever is an interaction. But the truth is, I'm bringing my void to you. Either you will help me feel secure because I'm acting out of fear when I don't know myself, when I'm not conscious. And you're praising me on the aspect of whatever I may look on the outside, which is not there because it won't remain. If you can disappear today, can we say that you're everlasting?
No.
Because you fade away, like paper, you just go off. So we are in an illusionary life where we think that our bodies are the reality of us, which is not true.
But the conscience.
But the conscience is our reality. And that is that inside consciousness is what we need to connect to, which is energy, which is who you are in essence and what I am. There is this gentleman called Max Igan. He said that if you look deep within the eyes of someone, all you will see is yourself. You're not going to see the other person.
True.
How many of us are capable of looking inside another person and we see that person, and we see ourselves in that person? That is the kind of connection we need to have when we are conscious. Now body is in motion. We are just moved on the illusion of the body. Why is it an illusion? It's not lasting. It fades. It's not a forever kind of thing. In other words, it doesn't even exist, to be honest. It is like a costume.
So,
you know?
Should we compare the consciousness to being like the soul?
People who are spiritual, because I'm speaking scientifically, people who are spiritual, maybe they would call it the soul, the essence of somebody. And that is what it is, you know, when you're looking at someone. So body is in motion, like I described in relationships. You go, you meet a person. In other words, in a physical body, we don't exist. But you're going to, but we look like we exist, but we actually don't. So we are coming to interact together. But you're getting to me or getting in a relationship with me basing on my body. But which body tomorrow is not going to be there? So have you really liked me as a person? Have you interacted with me? You haven't. Because whatever you've interacted with doesn't really exist in reality. But it is here in this moment now. The real person who exists is that person inside. When we are conscious, it means I am aware that you're on a journey, you need to grow, you need to know who you are, you need to find your values away from all these prejudices, as we shall go discussing these topics further as we go on in future. Then we shall see, how do I get all my values correct? How do I know this consciousness? This is when you're on that path. Now you're conscious. You're away from the illusion of this body. You're able to see the body. It's just like a vessel. Like you get a ticket and you go in a plane and it takes you to London. Then you come back. It is just that. But you cannot make it the entire life and live for it.
That is true.
It doesn't exist.
So
body is in motion. I'm busy knocking you. You're busy knocking me. And what is actually repulsing me from being with you if I meet you? Either your consciousness is low or it is very high. And when it is very high, it will show me my weaknesses. So I'll run away from you because you're at a level that I'm not. And your light is shedding a lot of me and my darkness. So I run away. When I find someone with whom we share the same darkness, we shall be together because we are in the same vibrational match.
More or less of meeting of minds.
Meeting of illusions. Because we all celebrate what is not real.
Wow.
But the biggest problem with that is that it is not satisfied. Sooner or later you'll get agitated because there are two ways to consciousness, like I mentioned. Either you have enough of the bad thing, which shows you that you want the opposite of the bad, which is good for you, or you consciously begin creating by getting out of the matrix, which may involve you to be a little bit of a loner. But then you usually have all these things, feeling insecure, everything that the environmental and societal prejudices give you. You have to go away from them for a while until you gain that strength within yourself. And then everybody will look and say, okay, now I think I should learn how to be this because this person is that way. I should learn to be this. You set an example. But these are bodies in motion. This is how we interact. We are basically not interacting because we know what to do. People who interact every day, you know, they have brains. They don't eat waste and put it on their plates. They know what to do. But you find relationships are the hardest thing because everybody is knocking you into growth, you know, into consciousness. And relationships, you go there to know who you are, define your boundaries. It is not happiness. People go there to find security. Like I said, happiness is not there because it's fear-bound. You know, happiness comes from knowing your truth self, feeling secure in your own authenticity, and knowing your consciousness and moving consciously through life. That means you're having a true experience of living in a human body. So that is what happiness would be.
Okay.
You know? So those are bodies in motion. So we are knocking each other. you know.
And with purpose to get something out.
Yeah, and sometimes we are simply colliding because we are at different places of growth.
Oh.
That is what exactly it is. But even the worst person really helps you to become conscious, at least of what you do not like and who you're not. And as a result of that, you're able to move towards who you are and who you're not. And this is how you can get that physics law and put it even in relevance to human beings, because the world, each part is connected to the other. So it doesn't refer to the outside universe out there. It refers to even human beings. We are part of this universe. First of all, remember the entire universe is inside us, because we have a DNA which is as old as the entire universe itself.
And as a rule, all planets are always in motion.
And we are always in motion.
So
One influencing another.
Very true.
Even bodies like us, we are in motion. Not just the galaxies, but we are in motion, pushing each other. And you know, pushing is not an easy thing. It means you get someone. Already we are built in such a way that we are pushable. You know, and then any slight knock really can take you a very long way depending on where you're standing. If it's a slope, you go all the way down.
That is true.
So that is what it is.
Okay, viewer, I hope that throws a little bit more light of energies and bodies in motion. Now, another viewer asked, these things or these principles we're talking about are not in our education system. But of what benefit is this information?
Like I said the last time, that the wealth of the unknowledgeable belongs to the knowledgeable. And it's just a matter of time before the unknowledgeable give it away for free.
For free.
So in one sentence, that is the answer to that. And in understanding, I'll give you an example. About 2 days ago, I was going on a jog around the area where I stay. Then I found, I think one boy was about 18 years. This boy, I want to demonstrate the answer to that question. This boy started saying, you know, I'm poor at home. I couldn't study. I did not have school fees. And he was talking, you know, like you finish jogging and then you drop at a petrol station to pick a bottle of water after you're jogging. You know, you've been dehydrated and you didn't want to run with a bottle of water. So he had a small party and he had all teenagers, you know, around him, and he came in a very good new car, you know. He was feeding everybody with alcohol and they were drinking, really partying. So for some reason, because I was waiting at the cashier for my bottle of water to pay, I asked the lady at the cashier at the cashiers shook her head and she told me, "Ma'am, you've been running. You see that young boy? He has just donated a kidney, half of a kidney or one kidney, and he has been given money, and that money he is here, he's partying. He had been hospitalized after donating it for 1 week. Apparently, there is a place where they go and you just check in and say, I want to donate my kidney and give me money.
You're cashed up.
You're cashed up. You've been at zero and you're healthy. You're a young man. They give you money. You recover within 1 week. Not really like recovering, but at least you can walk.
Better.
You feel better. Then you go to the bar and you drink and you take all your friends out. Now you're rich. And in that 1 week, when you've recovered, after you've recovered, you're an instant millionaire. You've gotten a car, at least that you didn't have before. And I was forced to approach this young man and ask him, what exactly did you do? I was concerned. Does he know the implications of what he just did? Is he eating well? So I reached next to him and I was like, but you're taking a lot of alcohol. You should be taking a little bit more water if this is what you did. He was polite enough and he told me, I've never had this ever since I was born. My mother is in a one-room house. Sometimes we sleep without having food. For this time, let me enjoy, because at least I sold of my own that I have. Because what else can I sell in order to have something to eat? And my mother has begun a small business. Of what use am I to live when I'm actually having this? So within a short time he drank. He didn't get any problem of any sort, but I gave him my number and I told him, please call me if you get any problem. But I think you're handling it not okay. Do you know what a kidney means? Do you know what it exactly means? Then he was like, I told my mom, I'm going to sell my parts one by one until we get somewhere. What is the benefit of having a whole body
when you're broke?
When I'm broke and I'm not getting anything. Do you get the dilemma?
I get.
So this question that has been asked is very genuine, because the issue is when we have our value, like it's very important as we discuss the matrix when we are coming up, the health matrix, the financial matrix. Because now with our environmental prejudices, which we talked about, the minute someone doesn't find that inherent meaning within themselves, then there are systems. Because you have to abandon yourself to belong to a particular community or society. And these systems are also community and society. And it usually gives money as a substitute for meaning in life. So when someone has a shilling, they say, this is the meaning I have in life. So the more meaning you have. But what happens now when you have a real ailment and there is no amount of money that can buy it?
Especially when you're running on one kidney.
When you're running on one kidney. You're in a polluted place, like pollution is becoming a problem of the modern times. Even you're breathing in a lot of dust. You can't run. At that age, you'll reach a point where you cannot do much for yourself. And then you're drinking at the same time. So ignorance costs. Whoever was asking of what benefit is this for us, ignorance costs. This is why I said that the wealth of the unknowledgeable belongs to the knowledgeable, because it's just a matter of time before the unknowledgeable give it out for free.
Well, viewer, that's that.
And also, one of the things that most people need to understand is that there is no shortcut to consciousness. Either way, you're going to know. You'll either choose the hard way or the soft way.
But the journey
is always going to be taken, whether you like it or not, whether you know or you don't know. Your body in motion, you're going to be pushed to what is going to cause you to come face to face with all that you fear, so that you can face your level of consciousness. That is the process of life.
Wow. So, another question, Doctor. At what point does one get to understand that they are conscious?
Consciousness is like knowledge. Is being knowledgeable in all matters that regard the truth of your being as consciousness in this life. The more you know in that regard, the more freedom and happiness you'll have. Because I defined happiness as the context from fear. And real happiness is about being conscious of who you are and being an authentic human being. Because you can live this life when you don't even know what to be an authentic human being is. Every day.
That's very true.
You're woken up by people dying, and then you say, even me, I'm going to die tomorrow. Which puts you further into fear. And the more you're going to fear, the more you're going to try and do anything. Go out with the guys at the bar, to go do this. Whatever stops you from thinking that the things you fear are going to come, because nobody has trained you about how these aspects are going to be. So now, knowing that you're conscious, you find that you're comfortable. The greatest example I can give, how do you know that you're conscious? When the subject of death no longer threatens you, you started to live. Not out of resonance, but out of knowing that I'm here to know this. I'm making the most of this time unconsciously. You know about the different matrices and you've come out of them. You've structured your goals upon a conscious life. And you are aware that you know, when I'm conscious enough, I'm going to get out. And you're comfortable. Living away from the illusion of the body. And you know that even this, when it comes, I'm ready to go. You know, not just out of saying, oh, you're telling people to give you that, but when you know what is deep inside, That when they bring a dead body in front of you, you will all be humbled, you know, as if something
Because-
bad happened to that person, which,
Because you know
which
that's
shouldn't
where that's
come to-
going to be you in a few years or decades.
Few years, it can even be the next minutes. When you reach that point where you can greet negative happenings and positive happenings the same, you know that you have become conscious. Because you learn now that everything happens, but it is leading you towards consciousness. And when you learn to look at the reason and what something is teaching you, whether it is an experience, whether it is something good happening, and you treat both the same, you'll know you're conscious. When you begin to see people beyond their bodies and you see them and you say they're at this point of struggle, you sympathize with them, but then it doesn't affect you because they are living out of their illusion of what life is, not reality. Then you know you've become conscious. You know? And when you can think about things like you were never born and you will never die, and it is really a belief within, not just a belief, but you know it for sure. You know, you've conceptualized that, then you're fine. You're conscious now.
This reminds me of a saying by one of the philosophers, and asked, what would you do if you were not afraid?
That is also something to look at. Because who is not? Even the most powerful people are.
Half of them are running chicken.
You know, because at the end of the day, if every person was free and they were not afraid, one first and foremost would walk around naked.
Ouch.
That is truth.
Is it true?
We would not be afraid. We would not be ashamed. We would not be. You get what I'm trying to say. It would be okay, and nobody was going to do anything to you. But we are afraid. This is why we wear clothes. This is why we want to be decent, so that we do not put ourselves in harm's way. I'm just giving a simplest example.
True.
But even people who have guns would not be having them. But it is that world we live. If the powerful we look to are also not secure, is anybody secure? So that is where we are.
How, at what point one gets to understand that they are conscious? Is conscience a place, a corner,
You go
or
to-
do you just go there, or do you just dial a few nerves in the head and voila, you're conscious?
Consciousness also is a form of awareness of your true self. So it is not a place you go to. It is not a place you go into or you realize after you are born, after you are dead. It is who you are. It is the only truth of your being. Everything else does not exist. Like I said, if tomorrow you do not exist, do you exist today?
Good question.
If tomorrow you will not exist, do you exist today?
Well, yes, I think I exist today because I am.
No. You have a conscious presence today, but you do not exist. That is why even tomorrow you will not exist, because you have never been. That means as consciousness, you were never born and you will never die. Because consciousness, in terms of physics, it moves in and out of shape, cannot be killed, cannot be destroyed. The same way we describe God, moves in and out of form, cannot be killed, cannot be destroyed. So it's like, for people who are very religious and spiritual, it's like you are God of some sort and you're getting to know who you are.
And the holy books say that he created us in his own image.
So we are trying to, so how can you be, if that is the case, which I'm not going into because me I'm on the scientific side.
True.
But if you're going to go into that area, how can you be a God when you're in fear? So what would the purpose of life be? To overcome all your fear, so that you can step into who you truly are, which is a God incarnate. Do you get what
I
I'm trying?
get it.
So that would be what it is. Happiness is not going away from all troubles, but happiness is knowing who you are. Do you get it? And that would be the purpose, more or less, of life. So in actual sense, you were never born in the first place, and you will never die. The body is just an illusion. This reality that we create is an illusion. It all doesn't exist. It's Disneyland, make believe.
Okay.
That means in your body, what we call the formation, during that time of birth, You are simply decoding. We have DNA. There is where in my videos, if you go back to my videos, there are not many. There is where I talk about the universe and your DNA. When I talk about understand
yes.
the type of light that you are in that video. You know, you go back in that video, you will see where I talk about that you have DNA, which is as old as this entire world. Whether it is active or not is another issue. It is there. AI, which is being made today, it is being made basing on your software created by the creative intelligence. This is what they are looking at, to even make AI and have that memory by copying you. So you're the standard to beat. In other words, even when AI is already there, you are the issue is not knowing yourself and not using your faculties, because it's not taught anywhere. But if you knew yourself, you are the standard to beat. It's like you've won already a battle against AI before you begin, because they're looking at you, but you have lost when you don't know who you are.
Very true.
Do you get what I'm
Dr.
trying
Wright
to
makes
say?
a lot of sense.
Yeah, but you don't know who you are. So now consciousness is this journey of who is a human being. What is blocking a human being into this mental, fitting into boxes? Why doesn't a human being know that they have all this capacity? How stupid can the creative intelligence be to create something that we even praise people who are making artificial intelligence and robots, that they are such technicians? But we can't say that this one who made this entire body is that good, whatever the creative intelligence is. You get what? But couldn't there be a reason as to why you have that DNA in your body? What does it mean? So those are issues and questions we need to go in and discover. As we go ahead, we'll talk about the human story, you know? And in terms of science, I'm not into the spiritual arena. I'm into the area which is scientific and logical, you know. So spiritual, not really. You know, scientific and logical physics, yes. You know, that is where I'm going. But I'm sure all truths are the same. Even in a religious or spiritual aspect, there is something which confirms with this. It's very possible, and it is there, and there are lots of alignments in as far as this is concerned. So you spend 9 months in your mother's womb, trying simply to get DNA and get connected to the world into which you're going to enter, including the soil. The minute you step here, you're already feeding from your mother. It knows you're coming. You know, so that is the network you're on. You know, you have to put to your WhatsApp, World Wide Web. There is a time I talked about Adinkra codes. If you go to know yourself as light, you know, I talked about Adinkra codes. People in Africa knew them, the Dogon tribe in West Africa, long before anybody even had known about them, and they are the ones making the World Wide Web we are using today. So these things, to people who are conscious, they haven't even gone to school. The most geniuses we have today, they haven't even been conventional school people. Half of them, the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, school dropouts. So when we talk matrix, we are really talking something real. Those who are outside the matrix, whether they decide to act out of fear or not out of fear, they have something really different, unique to share with us.
Well, viewers, there you have it. I'd like to thank you all for viewing. Remember, if you like what you see, hit the like button. And for more stories like this and conversations, hit the subscribe button and you won't miss any discussion. I remain Uncle Bull, also known as Ibrahim Kasasali. Till next time.